Welcome back, fight fans, to another top 10 list brought to you by Rush the Edge Sports. Today, we will examine the 15 most influential wrestlers of all time. Johnny Saint doesn't get the credit he so richly deserves as the driving force behind technical wrestling showmanship. His straight-laced style accentuated a skill set that was sure to be a master clinic in grappling and submission moves. Dubbed the man of 1,000 holds, his influence could be seen throughout wrestling through technical masters such as William Regal and Daniel Bryan, just to name a few, and has given smaller technically sound wrestlers a blueprint for great matches. Mrs. Foley's baby boy is synonymous with the word extreme. No man in wrestling history has used his body for effect like Mick Foley. His infamous Hell in a Cell match with The Undertaker made Foley the king of brutal moments in wrestling and gave fans a glimpse of how far he was willing to go to entertain and amaze. Foley and Payne were bosom buddies throughout his career, and while the effects of his hard style are visible to this day, so is the indelible imprint he had on his industry. The Heartbreak Kid, as he is known, had an amazing career full of some of the best matches of all time. His ladder match with Razor Ramon for the Intercontinental title is still considered one of the best ladder matches ever. His rivalry with Bret Hart in the early 90s, which saw its peak during a 1-hour Iron Man match, is the stuff of legend. He left the ring for a few years and came back as if he never left to reclaim top-tier booking. Many of today's wrestlers can learn how to tell a story and make their opponents look great by watching Shawn Michaels matches. The Macho King was so far ahead of his time that his greatness wasn't fully appreciated until his full body of work was complete. Often overshadowed by another man on this list, as was the case with many wrestlers of his era, this did not deter the Macho Man from carving out his own following in the rock and wrestling era. Some fans, myself included, consider him to be the premier performer of his time. His match with Ricky the Dragon Steamboat in WrestleMania 3 is a wrestling clinic of titanical proportions and should be viewed by all aspiring wrestlers as a lesson on how to have a 5-star match. Ever the controversial figure, the Ultimate Warrior is on this list because of how much of an impact he had on the industry in such a short time. His matches weren't the greatest, but he never failed to deliver the kind of energy that was infectious, and as a fan, you would often find yourself cheering for the man with limited ring ability. Most say it was all about the entrance, which would instantly electrify audiences with an emphasis on children, which ultimately are and always will be the strongest fan base in wrestling. His greatest match being at the grandest stage of them all against the immortal Hulk Hogan, a match which still gives those who experienced it goosebumps. Andre the Giant is a mythical figure in the wrestling world, but fantasy did not come close to the reality of this behemoth. Massive features and an enormous personality made Andre a larger-than-life presence. His sheer size alone made even more astounding when seen live. His matches in Japan were unbelievable in his younger days, as the sight of him climbing to the top rope and executing high-flying moves at his size was unreal. The end of his career was riddled with injury, but his mark on professional wrestling can be seen throughout the world. Many would argue that the second and most prolific Nature Boy should be higher on this list, based on a body of work which has seen 16 title reigns, as well as many more accolades. The evolution of Ric Flair is what allowed him to create an unbreakable legacy in the industry, changing his look and physique alarmingly to create an amazing persona to go along with demigod-like stamina and a penchant for the moment. Priding himself on going from territory to territory and often wrestling 1-hour matches on a daily basis, Nate has been recognized by many of the greatest wrestlers as the greatest wrestler of all time, a claim that would be hard to debate. Ron Simmons is on this list because he made history in a time where what he did held true significance. A star football player in Florida State University, he used his massive figure and peak athleticism to make a decent career as a wrestler. What puts him on this list as influential is the historic fact that he was the first African American fully recognized heavyweight champion, a feat made even more remarkable by the fact that he did this in a notoriously race-charged Southern wrestling promotion. That moment in time was one for the ages, and no one can take that away from Big Ron. Damn! The first Nature Boy was a sight to behold. Largely playing as a wrestler before his evolution, Buddy Rogers might have been wrestling's first rock star. exhibiting a flamboyant style never before seen. He paved the way for an entire movement in wrestling of over-the-top behavior, outfits, and performance. His battles with Lou Thesz and Killer Kowalski in the 60s are a testament of how influential to the industry Rogers was and continues to be. To this day, the ominous gong of Taker's entrance music makes crowds jump to their feet. The Phenom is by far Vince McMahon's greatest creation. Debuting in 1990's Survivor Series, his introduction was made even grander by his towering physique and his blend of size, strength, and agility. Taker's marquee matches were against a who's who of wrestling royalty. The Mount Rushmore of the Attitude Era features The Undertaker, and for good reason, as he is a staple of excellence of that time and beyond. The son of a plumber, the American Dream has left his mark on wrestling through decades of entertaining fans, but his real influence can be felt through past, present, and future stars with the contributions he has made. A great performer with a flair for the dramatic, his reach after a decorated career spanned across the globe. Inspiring past greats like Ric Flair and future Hall of Famers like Seth Rollins and Charlotte Flair, there is no doubting the influence of the man of the hour. The most electrifying man in all of sports and entertainment, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, is still able to generate the type of pop most performers work their entire careers to achieve. A third-generation wrestler, Rock has all the tools, great physique, athleticism, and overall unstoppable charisma. Headlining some of the most epic matches with the likes of Triple H, Hulk Hogan, and most importantly, Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock's ability to seize the moment and influence a slew of younger wrestlers has cemented him as one of the greatest. The Texas Rattlesnake is no doubt the most popular star in wrestling ever. He ushered in the Attitude Era with 2 birds and a stunner to deafening crowd reactions. Retired for years now, he still gets that same reaction. When you hear that glass break, you get goosebumps and feel the need to furrow your brow and get intense. Greatly responsible for swaying the balance of history in the Monday Night Wars, his influence over fans changed the landscape of wrestling and at one point, the whole of entertainment. His crossover appeal created a whole new legion of fans, and his exploits on a weekly basis made the southern-based fans migrate to the promotion that showcased the Rattlesnake. At one point, Austin 316 had a stranglehold on the whole of wrestling. We have all heard the stories of backstage politics and underhand moves, but this is a list of influence, and the Hulkster is one of the greatest influencers wrestling has ever seen. Perhaps the first ever crossover breakout star in the profession, Hulk Hogan's place in wrestling is among the greatest. His ability to create interest in the industry from Hollywood, the music world, and casual fans alike is a contribution that should never be ignored and should always be acknowledged and commended no matter what. His epic battles with the very best that the business had to offer, combined with the fact that he knew how to get the crowd going on any night, is why Hulk Hogan is immortal. In my humble opinion, his match against The Rock in WrestleMania 18 was his ultimate swan song and proof of the influence he had mastery over. The Game, the Cerebral Assassin. The reason Triple H is number 1 on this list is not just because of his stellar career, which has seen him win 14 world titles, but also because of what he has created in the industry after his time as a full-time performer. Triple H uses the same approach and intensity to usher in new stars as he did when he was competing for championships. Using his influence to attract and sign stars from the indie scene, Japan, Europe, and other promotions, Triple H's reach could be the driving force to ensure that the industry is secure for decades to come. Combine that with his contribution to the Attitude Era as a member of DX and later their leader, his role in the Ruthless Aggression Era as the leader of Evolution, and his ongoing presence in the industry, and the King of Kings stands alone as the greatest influence in wrestling today. Did I miss any out? Please leave a comment below and don't forget to like and subscribe and turn on the little bell for notifications. Have a great day and keep punching.